Welcome, brave souls, to a realm where shadows whisper secrets too vile for the light. I'm here to unravel tales so chilling that your skin will crawl long after the silence falls. Help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers, hit that button now, and together, let's unearth the horrors awaiting us tonight. It's late, and the mist outside the bakery window feels like it's seeping into my bones. I'm Helen Nolan, just trying to keep the dough rising and my son's life stable. The night shifts at this run-down bakery in our small town are long, but they pay the bills. My co-worker Gary Crane gives me the creeps. He's polite, always on time, but there's something off about him. He's too still like a statue, and his precision in everything he does is unnerving. Tonight, I catch him watching our new trainee a little too closely. It's not just a glance, it's a stare that lingers too long, making the air feel thick. As I knead the dough, I hear Gary humming under his breath. It's always the same old rock song, a tune that's stuck in my head now too. But then, I see him do something that makes me feel disgusted. He leans in and sniffs the trainee's coat just for a second, but it's enough. I keep my eyes on him, wondering what secrets hide behind that polite smile. There's something about Gary Crane that doesn't sit right with me. It's a story that happened in 1990 in Rivervale. I'm not here yet, but the story of Tiffany Harrow haunts me like it's my own. Tiffany, just 19, sets out for her usual morning run with her golden retriever, but she never comes back. Her dog returns alone, soaked and whimpering, a silent alarm that something's terribly wrong. Panic grips the town. 3 days crawl by, each hour heavier than the last. Then they find her by the riverbank. The scene is a nightmare, her eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent scream. Her legs bear the marks of someone's brutal grip, and the cuts on her palms tell a story of a fierce struggle. As I think about Tiffany, a chill runs through me. Her story, buried in the past, feels like it's reaching out, trying to connect with the unease I feel around Gary Crane. It's a strange thing. Why do I remember that story at this moment? It's 3 a.m., and I'm sitting at my kitchen table, the silence broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. Sleep eludes me, so I'm scrolling through old local crime blogs on my phone, hoping to tire my mind enough to rest. But then, a headline freezes me in my seat. Tiffany Harrow, cold case reopened. I click on the article, and there she is, Tiffany's photo staring back at me. My heart skips a beat. It's her, the girl from my nightmares, the one who stands drenched at the foot of my bed, whispering, "Why didn't you help me?" My coffee cup slips from my hand, spilling across the table. The realization hits me like a wave. Gary Crane worked in Rivervale in 1990. The same Gary who gives me feel disgusted at the bakery. The next day, I'm in the police archives, the air thick with the scent of old paper and dust. I've reached out to Detective Ramirez, the one who's been chasing the Harrow case, like it's his own personal ghost. I tell him about Gary Crane, about his unsettling behavior at the bakery and how he worked in Rivervale back in 1990. Ramirez listens intently, his eyes sharp with focus. Together, we sift through the files, searching for anything we might have missed. And then, we find it a broken harmonica, discovered near Tiffany's body, but overlooked all these years. My mind flashes back to Gary, playing the harmonica during his breaks, always humming "Sweet Child O' Mine." The connection sends a shiver down my spine. Is it just a chilling coincidence? Or could this be the missing link that ties Gary to Tiffany's murder? Back at the bakery, I'm sitting in the break room, my heart pounding with a mix of nerves and determination. It's time to take action. During our staff meal, I pretend to accidentally spill some food on Gary's head. He's annoyed, but it gives me the chance I need. As he's distracted, I quickly grab a few strands of his hair and slip them into a zip bag I've hidden in my pocket. I rush to deliver the hair to Detective Ramirez, hoping it's the key we need. Days pass, each one feeling like an eternity, until finally, the lab results come back. Ramirez calls me, his voice steady but excited. The DNA matches Gary's DNA is on the broken harmonica found near Tiffany's body. We're one step closer to justice, but the journey's far from over. Gary Crane has a lot to answer for, and I'm determined to see this through to the end. The courthouse is packed with townsfolk and reporters, all eager to see justice served. Gary Crane sits in the defendant's seat, his face impassive as the trial unfolds. His defense tries to throw doubt into the mix, claiming Tiffany was secretly seeing someone. But the evidence keeps piling up, each piece stronger than the last. Gary smirks through most of the proceedings, as if he's above it all. But then it's my turn to testify. I take the stand, my heart racing but my voice steady. I tell them about Gary's unsettling behavior at the bakery, the way he watches people, the constant humming of that old rock song, and the chilling moment I caught him sniffing someone's coat. I describe the smell of blood that seemed to linger around him, a scent that haunted me even after I left work. And then, the broken harmonica is brought into evidence. The courtroom falls silent as it's passed around, the significance of this small object hitting everyone like a wave. Gary's smirk vanishes, replaced by a twitch in his jaw. It's the first real reaction we've seen from him. After Gary Crane is sentenced to life without parole, a weight lifts off my shoulders. The nightmares that used to haunt me start to fade. Instead, there's one dream that lingers, refusing to be forgotten. In this dream, I'm standing by the riverside, the morning mist swirling around me. Tiffany Harrow appears, jogging along the riverbank with her golden retriever. But this time, she's not screaming in terror. Instead, she's laughing, her face radiant with joy. Her dog barks playfully, darting around her with pure happiness. As she runs, she suddenly turns and looks back at me. Her lips move silently, but I know what she's saying. You saved me. Then, with a smile, she and her dog vanish into the mist, leaving behind a sense of peace. I continued working at the bakery, feeling good, as if I had done a good deed. I hope that through this story, we will all stand up and fight to eliminate evil. The chill of the early winter nips at my cheeks as I step onto the suburban high school campus. It's just after daylight savings ended, and the shorter days make everything feel a bit more mysterious. I'm Emily, the new girl who transferred here from a distant city, and I've found a bit of solace in the artsy crowd at this school. Today, I'm heading to the after-school music club, my new haven. As I settle in with my violin, I notice him for the first time, Jonas, a senior with a soft-spoken demeanor and eyes that seem to hold secrets. He's 4 years older than me, and there's an instant, unsettling fixation in his gaze when he looks my way. We start playing, and the room fills with the warmth of music. But then, amidst the melodies, Jonas starts to hum a lullaby. It's not just any lullaby. It's the one my late grandmother used to sing to me, a tune I've never shared with anyone here. A shiver runs down my spine as the notes wrap around me, eerie and haunting. How could he know that song? The question lingers in my mind as the club session ends, leaving me with more questions than answers about the mysterious Jonas. The evening air is crisp as I walk home through the leaf-strewn neighborhood, my thoughts still tangled up with Jonas and that haunting lullaby. Suddenly, he's there beside me, offering to walk me home. He mentions it's unsafe, citing a friend who was attacked in another city. His concern touches me, and I accept his company. As we walk, We discover we both lived in the same obscure town in California. It's a strange coincidence, and I feel a connection forming. But then, Jonas starts sharing stories about his past, and something feels off. His tales are inconsistent, details shifting with each retelling. Then, he describes a street from California. Every detail matches my childhood neighborhood perfectly. The familiarity gives me goosebumps. How could he know so much about a place I never mentioned? The walk home ends, but the unease lingers. Jonas knows things he shouldn't, and I can't shake the feeling that there's more to him than meets the eye. The school hallways feel eerily quiet after class, the emptiness amplifying my unease. I've started noticing Jonas lurking in the background, always at a distance but unmistakably following me. It's not just between classes. He's there when I eat lunch with friends, sitting alone but watching me. Even on my walks home, despite him claiming to live across town, he somehow appears on my route. The feeling of being watched was uncomfortable, but what I happened to see in the art room really freaked me out. Jonas had left a sketchbook open, and inside was a drawing of a girl bleeding in the snow. The girl in the sketch, it was unmistakably me. The detail, the likeness, it was too real, too personal. My heart races as I close the sketchbook. The image burned into my mind. Jonas knows too much, and his presence is becoming more than just a coincidence. I can't shake the feeling that I'm being drawn into something dark and dangerous. The rain patters against the windows of the quiet lunchroom corner, creating a backdrop to the unease that's been growing inside me. Today, I overhear Jonas talking to our mutual friends about a girl named Elena from his past. He says she was murdered during a mugging in California. At first, his description of her is vague, but as he continues, the details start to eerily align with mine. My friends mention how Elena shared my features, my habits, even my love for the violin. A chill runs down my spine as I listen, horrified to realize that this fictional girl is becoming more and more like me. It's as if Jonas is weaving a narrative where I'm the main character, but in a twisted, dangerous way. The final straw comes when someone mentions Elena's birthday, the 14th of January. It's my birthday too. The coincidence is too much to bear. Jonas's story is no longer just a tale. It's a mirror reflecting my life, and I'm terrified of what he might have planned for the girl who looks so much like me. During a school lockdown drill, I find myself in a secluded stairwell, heart pounding from the tension. That's when I see Jonas, his face contorted in panic, mumbling incoherently about the night Elena died. He's lost in his own world, and I'm frozen, listening to his disturbing confession. Jonas says he killed the man who stabbed Elena with a glass bottle and buried the body himself. The intensity in his voice, the way he relives the memory, it's clear he believes it's real. But no one can verify if it ever happened. It's just another piece of his unsettling puzzle. What unnerves me most is how vividly and exactly he recalls every part of the attack. He mentions a necklace, a detail only my mother knew I wore as a child. How could he know that? The line between reality and Jonas's twisted fantasy blurs even further, and I'm left questioning everything I thought I knew. Sitting in the school counselor's office, my close friend by my side, I pour out everything about Jonas, his fixation, the haunting lullaby, the sketch, and the chilling confession about Elena. I expect action, but the counselor just dismisses it all, calling Jonas troubled but harmless. It feels like a punch to the gut. The principal is no better, brushing off the situation as teenage drama. Their words make me question my own sanity. Am I overreacting? Is Jonas really just a troubled kid, or is there something more sinister at play? Feeling isolated and unsure, I start to journal every interaction with Jonas, every strange occurrence. It's my way of holding on to what feels real in a world that's starting to blur at the edges. Then, The counselor slips up, referring to Jonas by his real name, Jonathan, a name I never knew. It's a small detail, but it confirms my fears. There's so much more to Jonas than anyone here is willing to admit, and I'm left wondering what other secrets he's hiding. It's a snowy evening when I spot Jonas pacing near Winter Hill Park, muttering to himself about protecting Elena this time. The words send a chill through me, more potent than the cold air. Curiosity mixed with fear propels me to follow him as he disappears into a wooded area. Under the shadow of an old tree, Jonas starts digging frantically. I watch from a distance, hidden by the snow-laden branches. Finally, he unearths a box and opens it, revealing a collection of items, photos, trinkets, and the same necklace he mentioned during the lockdown drill. As I creep closer, I catch sight of a Polaroid inside the box. It's Jonas, holding the necklace, the very one my mother told me about. But the date on the photo is what stops me cold. It's from before I ever moved to this town. How could he have known about the necklace before I even arrived? The realization hits me like a wave of icy water. Jonas's obsession with me, with Elena, it's all connected to something far deeper and more disturbing than I ever imagined. The truth, it seems, was buried right here in the snow, waiting for me to uncover it. It's late at night, and I'm sitting in my room, the glow of my laptop, the only light as I dig through local archives, terrified yet determined to uncover the truth about Jonas and Elena. My fingers tremble as I type, searching for any mention of her in his California town. The results are clear. No one named Elena ever existed there. But my heart sinks further when I find a case of a girl who went missing under eerily similar circumstances years ago. She was never identified, her fate unknown. As I scroll through the missing persons site, a grainy image catches my eye. It's a photo of the girl, and she looks hauntingly like me only from 10 years ago. I freeze as the eerie resemblance hits me. Jonas's story about Elena, it was all a lie, a twisted fantasy woven around me. But the missing girl, her story is real, and it's chillingly close to what Jonas described. The pieces of the puzzle are coming together, and the picture they form is terrifying. As graduation approaches, the school hallways buzz with excitement, but my mind is elsewhere. Jonas has vanished, quietly withdrawn from school without a word. His family moved away in the middle of the night, leaving no explanation behind. The school refuses to discuss it, as if hoping the whole situation would just fade away. Despite the silence, I feel a sense of closure, though it's far from peaceful. The truth about Jonas and his twisted fantasies has left a mark on me, one that I know will linger. But I'm determined not to let it define me. I decide to share my story online, hoping it might help others trust their gut when something feels off. It's my way of taking back control, of turning a terrifying experience into something that might protect someone else. In my final journal entry, I write, "He was writing a story. He just wanted someone to play the part." It's a chilling realization, but it's also my way of understanding what happened. Jonas tried to pull me into his dark narrative, but I've chosen to write my own ending. The thrill of driving Enshow was in full swing as we sped through Sydney National Park. It was just me, Sarah, and my friends Mike, Julie, and Nate, challenging ourselves to race against time under the cover of darkness. The winding road through dense forest was both exhilarating and a little creepy, as the park was known to be haunted. Everything was going smoothly until a sudden jolt shook our car. A pothole hidden in the darkness had punctured our tire. We stopped, the roar of the engine fading into the silence of the night. As we stepped outside to assess the damage, the cold night air enveloped us. Our phones had no signal we were really on our own. While Mike and Nate grumbled about the flat, I looked around. That's when I spotted a car, parked in an odd spot, far from any residential area. It sat quietly on the gravel road, its presence making this remote part of the park feel unsettling. Why would someone leave a car here, miles from the nearest house? As we huddled around the car, the reality of our situation slowly sank in. Stranded in the middle of nowhere, with a flat tire and no help in sight, the night seemed to grow darker, the air heavier. The mysterious car in the distance piqued our curiosity, but also made us feel uneasy. What would we do now, and what secrets did this deserted road hold? As Mike and I fixed the flat tire, the night seemed to close in on us. The air was tense, and the only sound was the occasional clanking of tools. Suddenly, a soft, eerie laugh drifted through the trees. Drifting on the wind, we all froze, staring at each other with wide eyes. Mike, visibly shaken, decided to stay in the car, but I couldn't ignore the sound. It was like a call, an invitation to explore something hidden. I convinced Nate to come with me, and together we followed the laughter down the deserted gravel road. The shadows of the trees seemed to stretch and curve, making the road feel even more isolated. As we got closer to the mysterious parked car, the laughter grew louder, almost mocking us. But when we arrived, the car was empty, the windows reflecting only the darkness around us. The laughter didn't stop. It grew more intense, echoing in the night. Nate and I exchanged a nervous glance before moving forward, heading for a bend in the road. As we rounded the corner, the sight that greeted us made my heart skip a beat. There, standing motionless and with her back to us, was a woman dressed in an all-white dress. Her figure blended strangely with the night, almost as if she were a part of it. I called out to her, hoping for some response, some sign of life, but she remained silent, as still as a statue. The tension in the air was palpable, and the laughter continued, now sounding more like a sinister whisper. Nate and I stood there, rooted to the spot, unsure of what to do next, but certain that we had stumbled upon something beyond our understanding. The air around us became heavy with stifling silence as Nate walked toward the woman in white. But then, something changed. He stopped abruptly, his body tensing as if an invisible force was holding him back. He turned to look at me, eyes wide with fear, and whispered my name, urging me to leave. His urgent voice sent shivers down my spine. We turned and ran toward the car, the darkness of the gravel road surrounding us. Panic propelled our steps as we stumbled over the uneven ground. Once safely inside the car, Nate was visibly shaking, his breathing coming in short gasps. He confessed that there was something very wrong with the woman's presence, that it seemed unnatural, almost malevolent. We tried to laugh it off, to lighten the mood with jokes and tense banter, but the anxiety hung like a thick fog. Nate's behavior became increasingly erratic. He kept glancing out the window, insisting that something dark was watching us. The rest of us couldn't see or feel it, but his fear was contagious, making us all feel uneasy. The night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for whatever was out there to make its next move. After what seemed like an eternity, we finally changed the tire. Relief was palpable as we climbed back into the car, eager to leave the dark, uneasy night behind. But curiosity got the better of us, and we decided to head back to where we had seen the mysterious woman. I held my flashlight, hoping to find traces of her, but when we stopped, there was nothing. The gravel road lay eerily silent, and still, the shadows no longer holding any secrets. We breathed a sigh of relief, believing that our fears were unfounded. Laughter and light-hearted banter filled the car as we drove, the tension fading, but our relief was short-lived. As we approached the bend in the road, the faint laughter we had heard earlier rang out again, growing louder with each passing second. It was no longer a distant echo, but a cold presence that seemed to surround us. The laughter grew more intense, and a sinking feeling rose in my stomach as I realized that it was not human at all. It was something far more disturbing, a sound that seemed to come from another world, malevolent and dark. The eerie silence of the road was replaced by a haunting refrain that sent shivers down our spines. We knew then that whatever we had encountered was far from gone, and that the night was far from over. The morning light offered little solace as we drove to the outskirts of the park, where the trees seemed to watch us with silent judgment. We were desperate for answers about the strange events of the night before. We stopped at a local diner, hoping to find someone who could shed light on our experience. As we spoke to the locals, a chilling tale emerged. Years ago, a tragic accident had occurred on the very road we had traveled. A woman had died in a mysterious hit-and-run. Locals whispered that her spirit still haunted Whispering Road, especially on windy nights when an eerie laughter could be heard on the wind. This realization hit us like a cold wave. The woman in the white dress, the inhuman laughter, it all made terrible sense. The fear that had been gnawing at us had turned into pure panic. We had encountered something supernatural, something that refused to stay dormant in the past. As we drove away from the park, the weight of what we had been through weighed heavily on us. The thought of returning to Whispering Road filled us with dread. We know we will never dare return, haunted by the memory of that night and the ghost of the woman we now believe we met. The secrets of Whispering Road will stay with us forever, a chilling reminder of the unknown that lurks in the shadows.